Hi to everyone. In this lecture, I am just going to illustrate two-dimensional array. What is meant by two-dimensional array? A two-dimensional array is used to store the list of values in terms of several rows and columns, and it contains only homogeneous data. Now, we are going to discuss about an example for two-dimensional array. Look into this problem. Mr. Ramesh is going for shopping and the purchase details are as follows. The list of items and the price per unit and the quantity for each item are given. The problem statement is they are asking you to calculate the total amount of purchase. So how can we calculate the total amount of purchase? So you will take the pen, and what's the cost per pen? It's 60. How many pens he has purchased? 2. So it means you have to multiply these two values 60 into 2 so as to get the amount paid for the pen. So it's 120. And then for pencil 10 and quantity 5. So 10 into 5, it's 50. And for note 50, so 50 into 2, you will get 100. And for toys, 201. So 200 into 1, you will get 200. Calculate the total amount for these things so that you will get 470. So this is the total amount of purchase. Right? It means 470 is the amount spent by Mr. Ramesh. Now how can we implement this concept using two-dimensional array means the first thing you have to note the number of rows and columns. Here the number of rows count is 4 and the columns count is existing columns are 3 and this is the data which we are going to calculate it and we are going to add it, right? So it means you can take the input columns are 3 and the output column is 1. So you can represent the two-dimensional array of size 4 cross 4. But you please look into the data type of the items. Here they have represented it as pen, pencil, note and toys. It's of string data type. But if it is an array, it should have the homogeneous data only. So what I'm just going to do it here means I'm just going to do the encoding operation. How I'm just going to encode my data. Pen can be represented by means of the ID 1 and pencil I'm going to give the ID as 2 and for note I'm going to represent it by means of the product ID 3 and for toys it is represented by the product ID 4. So you can rewrite the table. Pen will be represented by 1 and for pencil 2 and for node 3 and for toys 4. This is the first column. And the cost per unit is, and for pen it's 60, and for pencil it's 10, and for note it's 50, and for toys it's 200. And the quantity 2, 5, 2, 1. Right? And the amount calculated for each items, so 120, 50, 100, 200. Actually, these three columns which will be given as the input, this you have to calculate it using your C coding, and then you have to calculate the total amount paid by Mr. Ramesh. Okay, so this is the way in which we can implement the two-dimensional array for this problem. Okay, come, let's see the coding. Yes, first create one new file, and as usual you can create the documentation section. For example, you can write, this is the program I'm sorry, to illustrate the two-dimensional array. And what's the problem statement? Items, price per unit, and quantity. I'm just typing pen represented by the ID 1, and the cost per unit is 60, quantity is 2. And for pencil, ID is 2, and price per unit is 10, and quantity is 5. And for note, the ID given by us is 3, and price per unit is 50, and quantity is 2. Next, toys, ID is 4, it's 200, and it's 1. Problem is calculate the total amount. Right? Then close this comment section. Now, as usual, you can include the header file stdio.h. Then you can include conio.h. Type void main, open curly braces, closing curly braces. Then declare the array. Here I am declaring it as product, and the number of rows is 4, because, and then the number of columns is also 4, and I am declaring counter variable as I and j, and I am declaring the variable as total so as to calculate the total. I am initializing total by the value 0. Then you can clear the content of the previous screen by using CLR SCR. Then you have to prompt the user, right? Product details or else you can just have it as a product details, and then you have to get the input from the user. So assume to enter the product ID. I'm sorry, product ID and price per unit, quantity. Okay. So here I'm just going to get the input. So for I is equal to 0, I less than 3, I plus plus. And then I'm typing for j is equal to 0, j less than 3, j plus plus. So here itself you can type scanf percentage d and you can type address of product of I, j, right? So here you please notice this one. Rows is 4 count and column, 3 columns are the input columns and the 4th one will be the output column, right? So here you can give the condition as if g is not equal to, it's not equal to 3, actually here you have to type 4 and here also you have to type 4 because we are going to get the 4 rows and 3 columns of input and 1 column of output, right? So here you can type j not equal to 3 means by that time you can get the input, and you can type the else. In the else part you can say product of I, j equal to product of I j minus 1 and product of I j minus 2. Why I am typing like this one means here when the program control comes to this line, it actually refers to the fourth column. If it is a fourth column, we have to calculate the amount for each items. How can we calculate? For example, for toys, you have to take the previous column 1. So the previous column can be represented by means of j minus 1 and the second column can be fetched by means of the subscript j minus 2. That's why here I have written in such a way. And then in order to calculate the total, I can type total equal to total plus product, right? Product of ij. You can write like this one, or else you can make use of the shorthand operator. Total plus equal to product of I and j. So it's up to your choice, okay? So after doing these things, you have to print the output. So printf the amount, or else you can type it as the total amount of purchase by Mr. Ramesh is percentage %d \n, and you can print total here. So here you have to open the double quotations and then put semicolon here. Then type get ch. That's all. So after doing these things, you have to save your program. I'm going to save my program as product underscore new dot c. Okay. So then I'm going to compile my program. Yes, compound statement is missing. Where it is missing? Actually, I haven't closed the inner for loop, right? So I have to close it here. Then compile your program. No errors, and then run my program. So here we have to give the data. It's 1 and then 62, then giving to, then I have to give 2, 10, 5, 3, 52, and then 4, 201. See here, the total amount of purchase by Mr. Ramesh is 470. So this is the way by which you can make use of the two-dimensional array, right? So I hope every one of you got a clear idea about the two-dimensional array and how to make use of two-dimensional array. In case if you are having any doubts, post your queries in the comment section. Thank you.